Welcome back to the Buff City Central podcast. We glad to be back with y'all. We got Dorian. My name is Xavier. We're still missing our boy Joe. He will be back soon, we promise you. But today, we're going to cover college life. Now, what's today's date? Today's date exactly is June 6th. Within a little bit over 2 months, your homeboy is about to be off to college, heading to the University at Albany. So I'm in for a whole new experience. But Dorian, you just graduated college from Canisius, right?
All finished.
Yep. So I want to really cover like the topic of a college life just in general, and like not only advice for me, but probably advice for other like kids out there who about to journey into college life. So what can you give us?
I'll give you my perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was a lot of extracurricular things, but it was less of involvement in college campus events or campus like sporting events and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And in my head, it was just more into the schoolwork getting done, and then going to the gym, or schoolwork getting done, going to taekwondo, or going to podcast and all this extra stuff. But I think for some people, like they're much more into campus involvement, so they got their schoolwork side, and then they're in student life, or they're doing like some event setup because they're in work study or what have you, and involvement in their clubs, all that stuff. Well,
Gotcha.
You'll learn when you get there, but and then people that are already there know. And some people, not so much campus involvement, or a little bit, but more on the party side. But there's party side mixed in there, throughout, but some people more than others, and it may not be so good.
Yeah. I want to go in like to specifics really. So let's start like on the like topic of like academics and like schoolwork you have to do, because like I know college, teachers already warned us, and I'm taking the warning seriously that the workload is going to be heavy. So what was the workload like for you?
Yeah, it was decent, and the workload depends on you. Like, honestly, it's the classes you take. Some classes have much more heavier workload than others, and some classes may require much more reading. There's a lot of reading in general, but you're an English major or a philosophy major or a acting or something along those lines. But there's a lot more reading. A ton. Religious major too, they got. But the workload, especially if you're in the fall semester, we all know around November, late October, it's just like it's gonna be. I'm not just, but it's gonna be like a lot.
Dang.
Like almost overwhelming, depending on the classes you have, and then like spring, same deal. Towards like the last month, second to last month, towards the end of that, it's like that's when the workload gets heaviest. And you got to keep in mind when you're doing this work that you do it to the best of your ability in the beginning. So even if you get that kind of, I'm not planning to fall off, but if that potential like gets a little shaky in there with schoolwork and life and all that, and that's the other thing, life happens, So, dealing with that is kind of like one of the biggest things, I would say.
All right, got you. So you also mentioned just like college, like activities and just extracurriculars like you do. Now, the thing with University of Albany. Now, for me, well, just a little background story. I wanted to like major in political science, but I ended up. First I received great advice from one of my mentors about because. For all you who knows that in the future I'm going to get into politics, become a politician, and hopefully one day the president. Pray to God for that. But my mentor expressed to me how like just like staying within the political science field like was just so narrow, and how like for what I want to do, I should definitely broaden my field, because it doesn't matter like what background you come from. Like politics, there's no special requirements like to run for political office, so you could come from like any type of background you want. our last president, Trump, he didn't have like quite the political background as well, and look where he ended up. But that really like taught me like gave me an eye opening like just to other like majors I could look into, and so I ended up switching to urban studies and planning. So, but no, I went on a tangent, but yeah, that's why I was more drawn to the University of Albany. But not only that, because of not with the location being at the capital region, and I'm connected to people and politicians, so get good networking opportunities. But the clubs and organizations, well, really drew me to that school as well. So, how would you? I guess my question is, how would you like balance having like those type of clubs and organizations? Like, I know you probably. You just say you weren't that involved with clubs, but for people who you knew, like how did they like go with like balancing the clubs that they wanted to do? Because when you get onto the college campus, I'm sure that you just want to like throw yourself out there. Because like me, I call myself an outgoing person. Like I want to try all these new things. But what would advice you would give to someone like me?
I can't speak for other people, but I will speak for myself in terms of the time management. If you want to be involved in these clubs and extracurricular activities on campus, intramural sports or I won't say actual sports, but sports. Have a good balance of putting your schoolwork first, and then getting to the fun stuff or the extra stuff later. Or if you got to get to the fun stuff or extra stuff in the moment, then really put that time aside for the schoolwork, because I think some people don't have a strong balance of that. And it's not some kind of we kind of want to put this template up, or this idea of like this at 5 o'clock, this at 8 o'clock, by 9 you should be at this point, 11, 10 o'clock be in bed. Like that's not everybody. Everybody's different, and everybody has a different way of approaching their life and their function. There's no manual on it. You really got to figure it out for yourself and the way you're structured and getting your work done, or when you want to have fun. And how long would it take me to read this? And then I got this 12-page essay due. Okay, maybe I got to crank out a little bit each day, or somewhere on this day or this time and whatnot. So it's very kind of open, but I would say figure it out for yourself, but work first and then play later.
To give like a study plan, like what would you be your recommended, like if you could just give an average? I know people have like different workload, but what would you say the average study time people should take out a week for college?
Study time.
You can honestly
now,
go.
it depends on how much you're struggling in certain classes over others. But I would say a week ahead of time. And I'm not saying like fit the whole whatever you learn from between one test to another into one day. Monday, the week before the next Monday, the test is coming. But you take little bites of a section of your learning through that course, and then eat a little bit of that up. Monday and Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Thursday, Wednesday, I don't know, but whatever, how you figure it out. Thursday you may not study. Saturday you may not study. Sunday you crank out a little bit more. Then you kind of review everything in a little jam. That's kind of how I do it. And by Monday you should have it locked into here. Now people run into trouble when they want to do, the Saturday, Sunday.
Last minute.
And then the worst thing, even worse, is that some people don't get on me about this. Like smashing some coffee down and pulling all nighters to study, and it's like I don't learn anything.
Honestly, I don't agree with that. Like
it's bad on your health. And
I feel like that would make your mind worse if you just just trying to pull up all nighters, study like everything like that.
It, you're tired, and then you gotta consume more energy because your brain is so in overload, and then you're moving into the day and you're groggy and you're tired. Your focus isn't there. you don't have the proper nutrition, so you're kind of just more focused on food.
Yeah, from my personal experience, that like the later I study, the more like my mind's all discombobulated. Like just like the words, I'm just repeating them over and over again, like whatever I'm looking at. So I know that I have experience in that.
Yeah, much more or less likely to retain whatever you got during that class or whatever. And I mean, I'm not saying I pulled all nighters, but latest I ever go was till like 1 a.m. And I had a few nights like that.
That's a good time.
You know, but it's like stuff happens in life, or whether it's outside of me or to do with me, you know, I kind of got to deal with it. But really, it's like in the moments where you're taken away from your work, how are you going to structure your time out to put some more effort into like learning or studying and things like that? And it takes a heavy discipline.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people have that. So when you see or you hear the word effect, you see, because you'll go in there and then, you know, 3 years, 4 years later, you'd be like, I didn't see him anymore. I didn't see her anymore. You know, like some people just won't be around, you know, so.
Got you. Now, you mentioned discipline. Would you say that's would you say like top 3 traits you need to have like to get through college?
I think it's like it might be number 1.
Number 1.
I would say number 1.
And what other traits you think?
Persistence. Time management. I think that's it.
So persistence, time management, and discipline.
Yep.
Now
so that's my like top 3.
Got you. Now I wanna shift this conversation a little, because honestly, this is what my number 1 concern with college. Like if everything else fails, like, well, not everything else fails. Like, I mean, if everything else goes well, like this is the number 1 thing that is on my mind, which I fear. It's the D word. You know what I'm about to say? Think college and a D word. Yes, sir. That's my biggest fear. I can't take it. I do not want to exit college and just have a boatload of cash I have to repay. And especially if it has interest on it, that could give me a heart attack. Like I may be young, I may run track, I may exercise, but I could get a heart attack if I have to pay $50,000 like with over my entire life. Like that's a no-go for me. So what financial aid advice could you give us?
So, number 1 is probably the easiest. No, yeah, actually, I lied. So, number 1, the easiest is the scholarship search and the scholarship apply.
Got it.
As many as you can, whatever you apply to, even if you don't fit, I don't care, whatever. And actually, before that, so the type of schools you're looking at. So some will give more money than others, and some will help you generate more in terms of scholarships than others. So number 1, the school you pick is very important. The in-state schools are much less expensive than the out-of-state schools, because the out-of-state costs tuition and then having to live in residency, and then having to, you know, worry about the extra stuff away from home and the cost that maybe your parents would be able to help you with, or some family friends and whatnot. Number 2 is scholarships. Apply to as many. And there are cases where people are like $20 million worth of scholarships.
Yeah, that's true. One girl got $1 million worth of scholarship.
A lot of people that do it, and even half that. And it's like, just really apply. And it can be discouraging, because it's like, I got all this stuff.
You know, and I'm definitely not discoured. I applied to as many scholarships that I can.
And
but I do want to say, I think about to get into this now. Let's say you don't get like the scholarship amount don't like fully supply like your education for that year. Not only that year, but like over the course of your time in college.
So keep applying to scholarships, and then through your work study, if you're able to, if you're eligible to, take advantage of that, and find some work. But now here's the thing about with the money and work. is that, I recommend finding a job where you have some downtime to where you can actually look at your work, do something, and like still work and still be able to, get stuff done.
Got it.
When you have work that takes you away from the possible study times that you would have in that allotted 4 or 5 hours, 8 hours, then you kind of miss out on the schoolwork, your work, and you might be tired by the time you get to your dorm or home. You're kind of like, you're shot. And then you don't feel like doing anything, and then the grades slip and all that. I've seen that happen to people. No, that wasn't me, but even oftentimes, like, I would have to work extra just to make sure that I maintain the, bill.
Yeah.
And then still work and do schoolwork. If you can get that, I feel like it'll help, and it's ideal in terms of if you're going to work and work while in college.
Now I'm curious. What was I about to say? Now did you live on campus while in college?
No, I lived at home.
Okay. Now, for people who did live on campus, though, would you suggest, and it's something I have been thinking about to cover, because most of my tuition is coming from like my housing, room fees, and other stuff like that. Would you suggest becoming ROA? Like, I forgot what it exactly is, but basically, like some type of management, like of like your floor.
Oh
like
yeah,
college. Like a good way to cover like room and tuition.
So
room and fees.
I'll try that if you're gonna be. I mean, freshmen, you're less likely to do that.
Yeah,
that's more like
I know, like for sophomore
year,
junior,
sophomore, and senior. But yeah, shoot for that in your later years, later semesters, whatever that may be, however you get into it. Living at home is a beautiful thing because the cost is just greatly reduced already, and then you cook at home, and you got your own bed. You're not sharing a room with anybody. I mean, this is the case for people that can. And if you have the ability to, and I know some people that can be at home, but they choose not to and rather be on campus for the experience and all that.
Yeah, people. I was about to say people really want to have that full college experience.
Whether they get that experience because of themselves, that's another story. And it's like, why did you get there in the first place? But and some people, it's like being at home is not ideal. Yeah, I'll put that in a nice way. You got like
they're trying to leave the nest.
Brothers and sisters younger than yourself just running around all the time. You can't focus, or mom and dad are making it like, crud for you to be at home in general, and then you're just trying to escape. And I get that. I learned that from some people too. But I'll get into the residency, but in terms of that, in those cases, maybe spend your day on campus, and then when it's time to go home and be asleep, do that. And just find some other place to get your study time in and your focus time. Because, again, the campus experience is good, but then there's the money. Yeah. And then there's the home is not so good for me, so I got to get out. Let's look at some other options, too. For residency, just be easy. Don't be going crazy. Look for do that. I forget what it's called too. I don't know. But yeah, what you were talking about. Yeah, that's a good way to go too in terms of reducing the cost for residency and whatnot.
Now this is something. I'm funny. I'm going out. I'm probably going out of order. I probably should have covered this when we were talking about academics. But I hear these wild story about some crazy professors, like just the way their attitude is, the way like they just like teach their class. So, like, can you tell me like your experience like with the professors you had?
I haven't had one. I mean, there's one, but he's not even like off the. When I say there's one, he's like the normal, but he's a little more edgy than the rest of them. Just a tad bit more. Yeah. I haven't had a bad or a professor that was kind of off the calm radar, or they're much more snarly than the rest of them, or anything like that. But I have heard of other ones that they're condescending, or they are disrespectful in their own way. neglectful in terms of attention towards the students, or just they're snarly with it too.
See, that's why I was. See, with you Albany, it's not too large, but it's like a medium-sized school, but it's like medium but lean towards large, just between middle. Not definitely not as huge as UB is, and nowhere near as small as Damon or Ball State is, but it's like a large I'll call it a large mid-sized college. Weird wording, but like that's how it is. So I low-key fear about the amount of attention I would receive as a student, because I ain't gonna cap. I struggle. Like, I can struggle on my schoolwork if I don't have like a full, clear understanding. So I know that people in college, you get like academic advisors and just people who can help you. So how would you like rate the help that you got in college and how they were able to make you successful, basically?
I'm bad to ask because I didn't really like unless I was like really struggling and there was only like a couple of classes.
Oh, you were that kid?
Sometimes I'd go to like office hours or but that was only if I was like really struggling. Outside of that, I didn't really. Or I'd send an email or two about a clarification on the assignment. So that my recommendations for when you're having trouble in the class or worried about attention is like make your presence felt in the classroom. So the ones who answer the ones who ask the questions will gain much more knowledge. Yeah. Not in relation to everybody else, but gain much more knowledge if you didn't ask the questions.
Gotcha.
In relation to yourself.
All right.
You would, when you answer the questions, regardless if you're right or wrong, you thought about it and then you try to seek out. You almost asked a question. You're trying to seek out an answer that you didn't necessarily know, even if you thought you were right, and you might have got a different answer. And like boom, you just learned some more.
All right.
And that clarity just went up a step. In addition to, talking to the professor after class, if you're able to. Some professors got to escape, but I love my philosophy professors. I always talk to them after class, especially one in particular. And there's like emailing about clarification, make your presence felt in class. Office hours don't necessarily work for everybody because there's specific days and times and whatnot, and then it may not be conflict of interest. So my best is to probably communicate what you're having trouble with through some kind of email or a call or whatever outside of office hours if possible. And I was bad at this too, but talk to other students about what you may be unclear about. Ooh. Get the smart one, and then just like, hey, I need some help.
I'm glad you said that, because now that's a good segue. Building relationships, because I feel like with college, I don't think you'll be able to get through like an entire 4 years by being introverted. Like I feel you can, if you are an introvert, it is I feel like it's almost impossible for you to get like through college, like keeping that same like self loneliness like for a whole entire years, because I feel like you do need to build like some type of relationships in order to, not only like to succeed like academically, but like mentally. I feel like it would definitely be better for people. So what do you think? How do you think people should go about like building like relationships with people? Like what was the process like for you? Like do you have any college friends like you?
Yeah, a bunch of them.
All right.
Now in terms of like having them around for academic help. And again, I wasn't really the one that was like heavily involved in campus community and stuff. But in terms of the classes, you'll get partnered up with people, and then you'll kind of build a relationship there. Or that person you ask for some advice or some help on an assignment or some clarification on a question. That's another way to build that relationship. You have also sometimes when you're just around campus or just around people in general, you just naturally kind of form relationships depending on how things are with you. If you're in a club associated with your major, then you're more likely to find bonding around people in the same area of interest as you. So that's just how it goes, And in terms of relationships, kind of just get involved in the campus events. For me, Canisius is small too, so it's like I see the same person like 5 times a day. So it's like, yeah, get involved in stuff and in class build relationships. While you're doing the assignments, build the relationships there. You begin a bunch of contacts, sharing contacts, working on assignments together. Don't make a bad name for yourself through the assignments, group works and whatnot. And in addition to that, making your presence felt in class too. The professor's gonna call your name so many times just because you're answering or asking questions, and they're hearing your voice, and they feel you there.
Yeah.
And that way, you kind of establish an open door, at least in terms of recognition, for somebody to be invited into a relationship with you in this academic realm.
Gotcha. What else I got? Oh yeah, party life. So, I know you covered.
Yeah, I've never been to one. So
I've never been to a party.
We just skipped this one out.
Oh damn, can I skip that one? My parties. They're the best thing about college.
Yeah, I just never been to one.
Yeah.
Well, I will say, keep that balance of party and don't go overboard.
Yeah. I ain't gonna lie.
Make sure you got people with you that you know you can be safe around.
Yeah. I ain't gonna lie, I don't feel like I'm gonna be a huge party person in college.
Yeah.
And it's not even like just because I want to like better be like better academically at this. It's just like going out to a party like every weekend. Like
some people do it, or they got their own mini party in the dorms. Drinking.
Like I know I'm low key contradicting myself, but I ain't about to like be hanging out with people like every single second. Like when I'm in college, like I do having that private time to yourself. I do feel it's important, like very important as well. While at the same time, make sure you are actually like engaging in important relationships with people.
Yeah, sometimes you just need time to yourself.
Yeah,
there's always some place on campus or a couple of areas, little hideout spots that you can go to and just be by yourself and secluded and just do your studying and work and all that. That's a good way to build your studying too. Just find those areas, and then you're not the only one. There are other people trying to do the same thing, so you gotta have a couple spots in rotation.
Got it.
Move around and whatnot. So that'll help too.
Nice. So, what would be like just your major advice you would give like to me and just all the like graduating seniors who are about to enter college? Like, what would be like that just number one advice you would give them?
Watch this video back times.
Yeah.
Really just be disciplined, stay persistent, stay on top of your assignments. Do your best to have no missing assignments. Do your best to study a week before, even if it may be hard sometimes. And life will kick you in the behind, So it's like when those unideal events happen, like a death or you just got fired, or you may not have this amount of money, you may be stressed and all that. Really have that mental fortitude to really get through that, and then push through having to complete the work. I'm not saying like be a stone or anything.
Yeah.
It was like when I was dealing with the death during like my sophomore year. Next morning I was bawling my eyes out, but I was still going through the day at school, just doing the work. I mean, I was tearing up thinking about it throughout the day, but I was like, I kind of had to be here because I got to get this work done. This other stuff. That's not to say you can't have time for yourself, but I don't know. Some people are built better for that than others. Really maintain that schedule and be disciplined enough to still follow through with things even when things get tough. And in terms of professors too, you might run into some bad apples, but just realize that you're here for this purpose. You got to complete this class, and you're gonna get the most out of it by being attentive, paying attention, absorbing things with an open mind, being critical of things, and really like you paid for this, so just not eat it, but like reform it so that it's not affecting you in a bad way.
All right, got it, man. Oh, and this is actually another thing I should have asked before. Again, completely out of order. But if someone wanted to receive their master's degree or just like pursue higher education, like what advice would you give them?
Keep working because it's going to be more expensive.
Yeah.
And by like sophomore freshman year, start getting a concrete idea of what you want to do. And it's not something that you'll come up with overnight.
Yeah.
Because some days within months you might change your mind, or you might have a different opinion about things. It's like your college will transform you, so that's the goal of it. And also by junior year, really start looking at schools heavier. Senior year, if you haven't already picked one, start looking at schools heavier and the programs. What the program's going to offer you, and how you're going to use that to create the most amount of wealth for yourself, or whatever goal you have.
Got it.
But while you're in college, really take classes. I mean, you got your generals, and then you have the required ones. But outside of that, really take the classes that'll help you in terms of the goals you want to reach in the future, and the goals that you want to achieve, or the skills you want, in particular, the types of classes you want to learn from that you'll think are fun and enjoyable.
Yeah.
So, really go into that too.
All right. And this is my final question I got for you. Favorite college moment?
When I get my grades back.
Yeah. That'd be your favorite moments?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, there are a couple classes that like whoop my behind. And it's like when you get the grades back and you see your GPA, you're like relief.
Like
those are my favorite.
You ever had heartbreak?
Heartbreaking, yeah. I think I got a 1D ever in biology.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh my god. But I mean, it is what
Life
it is.
is over, man.
It happened. And then, because it's a requirement, I take it again because you got to get a certain grade above, like a C- and above. Retook it, and I got a B next time. But I mean, like, really, it's just like when you see that, for me anyway, it's like all this work finally, just like all that time, effort, and all those emotions. It's just like, yeah, it's done now. Next step. So, for me, that's probably it.
All right. That's all you got?
Yeah, that's all I got.
All right. Well, that's all we got for you today, guys. Give a quick shout out to all the graduating seniors, class of 2022. We about to head out, do big things in this world. And congratulations to the class of 2022 who have graduated college, including my man's Dorian right here. And what was degrees you graduated? You graduated in a lot of
bachelor's of science. So animal behavior, ecology, and conservation. That's my major. Was my major, and philosophy was a minor of mine.
That's a lot of degrees, man. That's very good.
It's like one, but
Absolutely. I mean, all
minor,
put together.
Major, minor, and then bachelor's of science. You graduate in that bachelor's of arts, bachelor's of science, and then business, all that stuff.
All right, gotcha. Well, guys, that's all we got for you today. Want to give a huge thank to Generator Z. They help put this podcast together. We really appreciate them. A quick shout out to my man Javon. We really appreciate him, the man behind the camera, doing what he can for the production booth. Got to give him his dues.
Give his roses.
And also, we just want to give a shout out to Breaking Barriers Buffalo. They are a parent organization. They really inspired us to do this podcast. We are a group of young men of color trying to change the narrative in our community. So please support our organization. And once again, especially for my Buffalo residents, stay safe out there, stay protected, be vigilant, and time to see change in our world. That's all you got, Dorian?
That's all I got.
All right, then. Peace out, everyone.